Princeton, MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Yale. Spot anything in common? They top this year's U.S. News and World Report college rankings, as per usual. But what if I told you that the schools you can't get into aren't even worth chasing in the first place? Here's part of another list. Clemson, Fordham, Drexel, Howard, Michigan State University. They're part of a new large leaders ranking, one built not on prestige, but on value, on access and outcomes. And the person behind this list is Jeffrey Selingo. He's a higher ed reporter, best-selling author, and a guy who actually sat inside admissions offices, including Emory-Davidson and the University of Washington. He watched how admissions decisions get made and wrote a bestseller called Who Gets In and Why? A Year Inside College Admissions. And now he's back with a new book, a companion book. It's called Dream School, Finding the College That's Right for You. And in it, he's taking a blowtorch to what he calls a rigged game, a system that pushes families into a prestige arms race with sky-high rejection rates, anonymous admissions readers, and kids feeling that they have to save the world in order to get in. According to Jeff Selingo, the game isn't just stressful, it's misguided. So maybe we're chasing the wrong dream. Jeff Selingo joins me now with a radically different map to college success. So what is the rigged nature of the current system?
Well, Michael, the top U.S. News and World Report rankings that you just showed, it's basically 7% to get into those colleges. That's the average acceptance rate of the colleges at the top of the U.S. News and World Report ranking. So I'm not saying don't apply there, but basically what we're trying to have students do is jump through all these hoops, twist themselves into a pretzel in high school, take as many AP courses as they can, take as many honors courses as they can, get A's in everything, participate in every activity, do year-round sports. Oh, by the way, save the world at the same time, all for an anonymous admissions officer on the other side of the desk who in the course of 5 or 6 minutes will make a decision on that student. And often they're so inundated with applications, they want to accept somebody, but they can't. They just don't have enough room. Because essentially the applications at the most selective colleges have jumped by 3 times over the last 20 years, threefold over the last 20 years, but the size of their freshman class is the same as it was 20 years ago. So there's just no more spots for all these students who want to go there.
Well, we have this idea that scarcity equals quality. And in the book, you say that's not necessarily the case, and there's plenty of quality that can be found in a place that doesn't have scarcity as a key principle.
Indeed, we looked at this survey that Indiana University does nationally every year called the National Survey of Student Engagement, right? This is what most parents want. In fact, I did a survey of 3,000 plus parents for the book, and what they most want for their kids is to find friends and to have student success in college. And also, by the way, just be happy and find fulfilling jobs. Well, Indiana does this survey. They survey hundreds of thousands of college freshmen and college seniors every year. We looked at the data for college seniors, and we found that they're just as satisfied on less selective campuses that accept 40% of students or 50% of students, as they are on those most selective colleges. Oh, and by the way, on those lesser selective colleges, again, colleges that accept 40 or 50 or 60%, they actually have more interaction with their professors. I heard this so often, Michael, in my reporting, where these students would go to Columbia or Harvard or Yale or Stanford, and they wouldn't get to know their professors, or they wouldn't get to do work with them because those professors were most interested in their graduate students.
Everything that you say, everything that I read in the book makes perfect sense. I wish I had the book 20 years ago because, I'm finished with this process now. But I have to say, it's hard not to get swept into it as a parent, especially depending on what part of the country you live in and what schools your kids are going to when they're not yet high school graduates. And everybody is pursuing these schools, and I'm guilty as charged. So is the message for parents, or is the message for their kids, the students?
Oh, this is definitely a message for parents. We asked them in this poll of 3,000 plus parents we did, how important is prestige to you? Only 16% said it was very important. How important is it to your kids? 28%. But here's where it got really interesting. We asked, how important is it to people in your community? 62%. So a lot of this is the signaling that goes on when we put that sticker on the back of our car to say our kid goes to Stanford or Harvard or Yale or Princeton. And if you're a parent who wants to get off that treadmill, which I'm encouraging in this book, I'm trying to give you permission to get off that treadmill, telling you what you should be looking for in a good school. But you often think, well, if I do it, I'm going to look like a bad parent because all these other parents around me are pursuing this prestige race. And for what reason? We're just putting a tremendous amount of pressure on our kids, Michael. And I just want to give parents permission to get off that because, by the way, the outcomes are just as good at these colleges we think of as less prestigious. And the only reason we think that is because they accept more students.
So, mental health and the mental health of adolescents, young adults is a constant on this program. I spoke of it in my opening commentary yet again today. And what I'm thinking about in view of your book, Jeff, is the less stress that this might also provide. Because again, I know what that's like when how many AP courses have you taken, right? What is that project you're involved in? I mean, somehow we've sort of villainized the idea that in the summer you're going to go do what I did, which was work at a McDonald's.
Okay.
Like, oh, I don't know how that's going to look on the resume when you need to apply to school. So wouldn't it be great if everybody could take it down a notch and recognize the schools and you name them? You break down by list in the appendix of your book, so you give a whole laundry list. But it could be good in terms of a mental health aspect for our young people.
No doubt about it, Michael. And even if you end up doing all those things, and I agree with you, by the way, on summer work, right? I worked in a hospital kitchen as my first summer job, and it just taught me to get along with people of different ages who had different perspectives, which I think is important for college today. But even if you do all those things, even if you try to save the world, you do all these summer activities, you take all these classes, you participate in all these clubs, you still might not get in to those most selective colleges. And often I've talked to students who said, what did I do all that for? Because they didn't want to do it. You should do what you do in high school because you want to do it, not because of how it's going to look to some admissions dean on the other side of the desk.
By the way, wouldn't it be great if the admissions dean on the other side would have some respect? Maybe they do, and kids just don't know it. Would have some respect for Jeff Selingo working in a hospital kitchen, or Michael Smerconish being the maintenance man at McDonald's. I think that the schools could do a solid if they let everybody know you don't need to be involved in a third world country when you're in 11th grade. Anyway, the book is great. The book is really great. So thanks for being here, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Social media reaction from the world of X. Make sure you're following.